Nobody saw this coming. Just days into training camp, the Raiders front office pulled off a move nobody expected, added a player nobody was talking about, and now there's a real chance their best defender is playing out the string before a trade. Stick around, because by the end of this you'll know exactly why, and trust me, the last story on this list might be the biggest one of all. Let's start with the tight end room, because it was already stacked before this move. Brock Bowers is the best tight end in football, full stop. Michael Mayer is right behind him. So why on earth would the Raiders go out and add another one? Here's why. The team just signed veteran tight end Zach Kuntz and released running back Chris Collier, who'd been fighting through an injury. Kuntz is nearly 6'8". That's not a typo. He came into the league in 2023 as a 7th-round pick with the Jets, spent time on their practice squad, bounced to Miami, and got cut in May. He's never really gotten a real shot to prove himself on Sundays, and now he's fighting for a roster spot in one of the deepest tight end groups in the entire NFL. A lot of fans are asking, why add size to a room that's already elite? Simple. The coaching staff wants competition at every single spot, and a 6'8" target with real athleticism is impossible to ignore in the red zone, no matter how deep the room already is. If he can show out during camp, he gives the offense a completely different look near the goal line, something this team hasn't really had. On the other side of that move, Chris Collier is out. He never locked down a role since joining the Raiders back in 2024, bouncing on and off the roster without ever becoming a full-time contributor. Now Las Vegas is down to just 4 running backs on the depth chart. That's thin, especially heading into a long, physical season. Don't be shocked if another name gets added soon, and Miles Sanders is reportedly a name to watch if the Raiders decide they need more experience and depth in that backfield before the regular season kicks off. But here's the thing. This roster move isn't even the biggest story out of camp. Not close. Wait until you hear what's happening with the best player on the entire team. Brock Bowers is coming off a knee injury from last season, and instead of easing back in slowly, he has looked like the most explosive guy on the entire field since day one of camp. People already call him the best tight end alive, and camp reports are only backing that up even more. What stands out even more than the talent is how he talks about it. Bowers isn't chasing personal stats or highlight reels. He said flat out that he just wants to make the right play whenever his number gets called, no matter what that play looks like. That's the kind of leadership and humility that turns a talented team into a truly dangerous one, and it's exactly why teammates and coaches keep pointing to him as the heartbeat of this offense. And it's not just Bowers. Wide receiver Trey Tucker is raving about the new offense under head coach Clint Kubiak, saying players are lining up all over the field instead of being stuck in one single role. That kind of versatility makes an offense so much harder to defend, because defenders can't just key in on one guy in one spot. After finishing near the bottom of the league in offense last season, the Raiders are hoping Kirk Cousins, rookie quarterback Fernando Mendoza, and this new scheme completely flipped the script and turned this unit into a real threat. It's still early, training camp is only a few days old, but the energy and buzz building around this offense is impossible to miss. Now let's get to the part everybody actually wants to talk about. Maxx Crosby. Quick question for you. If your team's best player might get traded in season, do you want them to hold on to him no matter what, or cash in while his value is at the very top? Think about that for a second, because this situation is about to get real. The Raiders kept Crosby through the offseason, even after trade talks nearly sent him packing to Baltimore. That deal fell apart at the last minute, but it hasn't killed the speculation, not even close. Just recently, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones got asked directly about a possible move for Crosby, and while he wouldn't give specifics or confirm anything, his answer made it pretty clear Dallas hasn't walked away from the idea entirely. So here's the real question. What happens if the Raiders come out of the gate slow this season? The NFL trade deadline lands on November 10th, and that gives Las Vegas plenty of time to figure out if this roster is actually built to compete for a playoff spot. If they're winning games, Crosby isn't going anywhere. It's an easy call to keep him. But if the losses start piling up and the season slips away early, the front office could be fielding trade calls involving real, valuable draft capital. Crosby turns 29 this year, which still puts him firmly in his prime as one of the best pass rushers in all of football. If a Super Bowl contender comes calling before that deadline, he becomes one of the single most valuable trade chips in the entire league. There's one variable that changes everything, though, and it's a big one. His knee. Crosby had surgery back in January, and his recovery has been the biggest storyline of the entire offseason. Coach Kubiak says he's cleared to work with the starters, which is a great sign. Crosby himself explained on his podcast that the medical team is easing him back in on purpose, taking their time instead of rushing anything. The Raiders know exactly what he means to that defense, and they're clearly not taking any chances with his health this early in camp. And look at the numbers, because they speak for themselves. Even while battling injuries these last 2 seasons, Crosby has still piled up 17.5 sacks over his last 29 games and led every single edge rusher in the league in tackles for loss last year. That's elite production even on a bad knee. Stay healthy, keep playing like that through camp and into the season, and his trade value stays sky high, whether that ends up being in Las Vegas or somewhere else entirely. One bad injury, though, and the entire picture changes fast, both for him personally and for the franchise's plans going forward. Alright, comment challenge time. If the Raiders do end up trading Max Crosby this season, drop the team you think ends up landing him. Go. Now here's where camp got scary for about 10 minutes, and every fan watching felt their stomach drop. During Friday's practice, newly signed pass rusher Kwity Paye had to leave early with a trainer, and every Raiders fan watching immediately feared the worst. This camp had been almost completely injury-free up to that point, so seeing a projected starter walk off the field early hit different, especially this early in the summer. Turns out, it was nothing serious. Head coach Kubiak came out right after practice and said Paye is totally fine. The staff just didn't want to push him before players start going full pads. Minor issue, nothing more. Just plain caution from a coaching staff that clearly doesn't want to lose a key piece over a training camp practice in July. Remember, Paye signed a 3-year, $48 million deal this offseason to line up next to Crosby and give defensive coordinator Rob Leonard a legit 1-2 punch off the edge. Some people questioned the money when the deal first got announced. Nobody's questioning it now after watching him work. Leonard has praised his strength, his athleticism, and just as much, his day-to-day consistency and work ethic in the building. Once fully healthy, Paye is expected to rotate with Malcolm Kuntz and rookie Kieran Crawford, keeping constant, fresh pressure coming at opposing quarterbacks all game long instead of wearing down 1 or 2 guys. Camp injuries are just part of football. There's really no avoiding that over a long summer. But this time, the Raiders dodged a real bullet. Instead of losing a key piece for weeks, the defense keeps building chemistry with basically the whole group intact and healthy. If Paye and Crosby both stay on the field together all season, this defensive line has a real shot at being one of the most disruptive units in the entire NFL this year. So here's where we land. 3 storylines, 1 team. Zach Kuntz stirring up real competition at tight end. Max Crosby's future hanging in the balance with the trade deadline looming over everything. And Kwity Paye's scare turning into good news for a defense trying to stay at full strength heading into the season. Which one changes the Raiders' season the most? Drop your pick in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.